are the Philadelphia Eagles for real. The juiciest matchup that they've had in a very, very long time. And a lot of it is going to be about this guy. This guy right here. Ginger Jesus. Killa Carson. Yeah, I am hearing my echo, and it's annoying as fuck. But James Worthington is here. I'm Adrian Fedju. Just technical difficulties all the way around today.
Yeah, I mean, hell, it took me about an hour to log on. Just a great start. Hopefully we don't start the game off like this tomorrow. But yeah, man, Ginger Jesus, he's been everything I've hoped to see. That last game was probably the best of his career. It was a great performance. And, this they're rolling, man. They really are.
Yeah. 9 of 12 conversions on third down, 11 of 12 on the down and all for what was the number? 225 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is absolutely remarkable. So I think this game is going to come down to the secondaries. I think both teams are going to throw the ball a lot. We'll see about if the Eagles can establish a running game. I don't think the Panthers are going to be able to run the ball on us. Their offensive line has been terrible. They haven't been able to block anybody. So I think it's going to come down to the secondaries, and I trust our trio of Jalen Mills, Patrick Robinson, and Rasul Douglas a little bit more than the trio of Daryl Worley, James Bradbury, and Captain Munnerlyn.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing great, and they tackle really well for cornerbacks, which is something that's nice to see after the recent history we've had here. And I mean, what you just said about Carson, he wanted to work on his third down efficiency in the offseason, and look at the difference. So when that guy puts his mind to something, I mean, he obviously is going to get results. But I agree, and it's going to be interesting to see how our secondary matches up with these big receivers, because we've gone against some speed guys. I mean, we've gone against, the Odell Beckham Jr.'s of the world, but now it's Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin, and they're huge, man. Cam Newton can throw it up to them, and they just need to body you up and go get it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play with that. I think Rasul Douglas will prefer that. He's more of a physical corner. And Jalen Mills, I think he'd be better against a bigger guy than a speed guy, but he's been solid all year.
Yeah, I actually talked about that in my Philly Influencer preview. So good call there, because you got Funchess and Benjamin, two guys that are like 40 pounds heavier than Mills and Robinson. Now, I think Douglas is going to be on the outside in this game. The last game, you had Patrick Robinson outside when they went to nickel because they had Malcolm Jenkins in the slot covering Larry Fitzgerald. So I think Rasul Douglas, because he's like 6'2", 210 pounds, he matches up better physically than a Jalen Mills and Patrick Robinson, who I don't even know are 6 foot, 200. So that's something to definitely watch out for. And Devin Funchess is kind of starting to come into his own the last few weeks, so he's been better. That's going to be difficult for the corners. We haven't seen a physical set of receivers like this yet.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't. So it's a true test, and just in general, I mean, for us to go on the road on a short week and take on a 4-1 Carolina team that has really come to life these last 2 weeks. So if we're competitive here, I mean, if we somehow pull out the win, it's going to be tough, but that's going to say a lot. And even if we're just competitive like we were in Kansas City, I think this team's come a long way, and they're starting to get some national recognition. Rasul Douglas, he should do well in this game. I mean, I think this is the kind of game he wants to play. He wants to get physical. He wants to get up in the receiver's kind of chest, within that 5-yard range. So it'll be interesting to see. Patrick Robinson, man, I can't say enough about that guy. Unbelievable. And you and I, we hated him.
Yeah, everybody did, dude. 99% of Philadelphia hated him. Everybody wanted him cut. They wanted him vanquished. And he is the number 1 cornerback in football, according to Pro Football Focus. However, you take that seriously or not, because I don't, because they graded Carson Wentz less than like several quarterbacks last week, and it's a joke.
Well, and they did the whole franchise player draft in college and the NFL, and Carson Wentz wasn't taken in 3 rounds or whatever.
Well, they're idiots.
No, yeah, they took 7 college quarterbacks ahead of Wentz, which is unbelievable.
Hire me immediately.
No, yeah, I don't know where they get these people, but that's just a joke. I mean, the way this guy operates at the line of scrimmage, and that's what we knew separated him. He's always going to be – he's not going to be the most accurate guy. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he's between the ears. He's exceptional, and that's so important at the quarterback position in the NFL.
He's getting all these third downs pre-snap by reading the defense pre-snap. And if you watched our film study from yesterday, how he did it. So Brendan obviously does an outstanding job with those film studies. And, you know, Brendan, I wish you didn't live in Vegas because I'd love to have you on a show a lot more because I know he can't do all the shows. And, like, because, like, there are a couple of people asking, like, if he can get on the recaps. But he's in Vegas. He doesn't get to see the games. He's not even an Eagles fan.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not an Eagles fan, you know.
He might be an Eagles fan, which is funny to me.
He could jump on the bandwagon if he wants to. We're taking, you know, we'll take whoever.
Yeah, I mean, Ravens stink, so, you know.
The Ravens are, you know, they've been rough, but, you know, I respect his fanhood. I wouldn't expect him to jump ship quick like that, even though the Eagles are looking really good, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
It's almost scared me in a way how good they've looked because, like, they're like number 2 in the power rankings.
I know.
According to ESPN's like percentage, the Eagles are like second in terms of favorites for the NFC to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man, and it's almost scary. Like, I don't think this team's peaking yet either, and they're already looking this good.
Yeah.
And like the leap they've taken from last year, like obviously we added a lot of players to this football team. We have a whole nother offseason with this coaching staff. But I mean, really, it's like Carson Wentz, man, the progression he's made. I mean, and it really he's looked good all year, but the stats didn't jump out at you till last week. And I've been so impressed with how far he's come in just one offseason.
Yeah, really. And you look at the versatility offensively. You got the running game because the offensive line has been great. So you can run the ball outside. You can run the ball inside. You can throw the deep ball now because Carson Wentz is showing a lot more accuracy in that area. He can throw the intermediate stuff. You have the receivers that can do it. You have your safety blanket in Zach Ertz. There's just so much versatility in this offense. And, I mean, they can go on an 8-minute drive if they want to. They can do the 2-minute drill if they want to. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, and we've seen it. That's not even speculation. Like, we've seen it. We saw the Giants game with the quick offense, and we saw them eat the clock away against San Diego, and we saw the drives last week. It was just awesome, man. It was great to see. It was awesome to see Carson hit some deep throws finally. The one to Aguilar didn't look pretty, but it was on target, which is all that matters. And that move after the catch by him, man, that was crazy. It's awesome to see Nelson finally kind of coming into his own. I think he's confident again, which is really important with some guys in the NFL or, you know, just in general in life. But, I mean, man, I don't know what you're thinking, but our offensive line has looked unbelievable lately. Like, the one thing I can complain about is just leave Wisniewski in there.
Yeah, for real.
But other than that, I mean, it's been great.
Doug Peterson did admit this week, well, he said this week that Wisniewski's going to get more of the snaps now. There's still going to be splitting time, but it's not going to be like 60-40 anymore. Yeah. More like, I don't know, 80-20%.
They might throw Warmack in there if we need like a third and short something maybe because he's just a bigger body. But, I mean, Wiz has played great. Kelsey, again, another good game. It just sucks, man. I mean, Big V looked good in the second half. I mean, I didn't notice a huge difference, a huge drop-off. But not having Lane, it's scary. It's really scary. And I think
do you believe in the record for 9-2 when they have them 2-8 when they don't? I think that's a little bit far-fetched, but that's.
I mean, it's you know, there's other factors at play there. But I think a lot of the last year too was after that first game with Big V and Wentz lost his confidence in the offensive line, and I think he kind of never really recovered from that till the end of the season. You know, he came back, which is how rookie seasons go. They're up and down, and you learn, and you keep progressing. But I mean, Big V, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to be matched up against, is it Charles Johnson's their left end?
Yeah, Charles Johnson and Julius Peppers.
Yeah, and I mean, that's no easy task. So they're going to have to give him some help, and they better. If they're not giving him help, then they're out of their freaking minds because Lane Johnson's an all-pro. And to go down to Big V's a serviceable swing tackle, backup tackle. But, I mean, he's going to need help. And if Jason Peters, God forbid, he goes down, then we're really going to be in trouble. I don't want to think like that, but it's just we're thin at tackle.
You know Jason Peters, he always goes out for an injury for like a couple days. That's what he does.
He better not this game. He's got to suck it up.
Yeah, he better suck it up.
Yeah. On the bright side, though, man, you heard Khalil's out. Ryan Khalil for their center is out.
Okay. All right.
They came out today. They said he's not playing, which is nice. And if we could – I don't know what the word on Fletcher is, but, I mean, we might be eating inside.
Fox is questionable. He practiced fully yesterday, but he's questionable. So we'll see. I know Lane Johnson is out. They did announce that. So now the 2-8 thing, just to kind of go back on that, just to say something real quick. The reason why I don't believe in that as much is I felt like Big V improved as the season went along. And as you said, I mean, I thought Carson Wentz just saw regression. The whole team saw regression. Yeah. Doug Peterson regressed. Everybody regressed. They didn't go 2-8 because of Lane Johnson. They went 2-8 because they stunk. All right? It's not because of Lane. I don't think they would have made the playoffs last year if Lane Johnson would have played all 16 games. I don't think that would have been the case. Now, Big V improved, and, I don't want to say he can hold his own because he's going to need help, but I think he might fare better than we think he will, if that makes sense. I thought he looked good last week after watching the tape again. So, he kind of got put in there in the second half, didn't allow a sack or hurry or a pressure. So I thought that was good. But, yeah, there you go. All right, moving on. I want to talk about Alshon Jeffery. It took me 15 minutes to get to him. Wow, I don't know why, because this is the game I think he's going to break out. So first week, you had Josh Norman. Second week, you had Marcus Peters. Third week, you have Janoris Jenkins. Fourth week, God, who was it? Casey Hayward. And last week was Patrick Peterson. Now he gets James Bradbury. James Bradbury, underrated. Solid corner, second year, but he ain't elite like all those other names I listed. So I think this is a matchup that Alshon Jeffery should feast on. And I think Carson Wentz should be targeting him early and often. This is going to be his first 100-yard game in a while. What's it, like 20 games he's gone? I think he's going to get over 100. I think he's going to.
I agree. And it's weird because it wasn't even just the corner matchups. It's just I have a weird feeling like this is the game. I don't know why. I mean, the corner, it makes sense from like a logistics standpoint. He's not going against a top-end corner. But it's interesting. I noticed last week, like they got him involved early. He made some good catches, and then just went away. It just didn't come back to him. So I don't know if that was just Patrick Peterson was all over him. I actually haven't had a chance to rewatch the game yet, and obviously I was there. So when you're there, it's a little different than watching at home. But I mean, he had a couple nice catches. He was open in the beginning, and I was like, all right, we're going to him. Here we go. And I feel like I've said that almost every week, like get him involved early. And I thought they finally were. And, it just turned out we hit a couple big plays. We ran the football and really didn't go back to him that much. But I agree with you. I think it's time that he breaks out. I don't think he's feeling the pressure because we're winning. But people are talking, saying, he's not performing like a $14 million wide receiver. And you just saw Nelson Aguilar and Torrey Smith have big catches. He's going to be hungry too. He wants that too. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to go deep, but I think I could see like 8 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown, like big volume numbers. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I think he's been limited because they're targeting other players because of better matchup situations. He also was getting doubled last week. I mean, there was bracket coverage around him. So and that was with Patrick Peterson covering him too. So, and he was getting doubled. So, I am not looking into the stats as much as everyone else because what his presence is doing is it's opening up the whole field for everybody. So it's Zach Ertz, it's Nelson Aguilar, it's Torrey Smith. I mean, it's leaving them, in favorable matchups and winning situations. So to look at just his numbers is kind of stupid. And he should have 100 extra yards anyway if Carson Wentz would have hit those deep balls earlier in the season.
Yeah, and I agree with you there for sure. And I think something that makes me angry, as I've said a lot, I do listen to sports radio a lot in the city.
Yeah, I don't.
And something that makes me mad is that people are, saying, oh, well, you can't say that Alshon Jeffery is, they're scheming against him and it's opening everything else up. It's like, yeah, you can watch the film, like watch the game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're scheming around him because he's too good of a receiver. He's going to go up and get the ball. If you put him in single coverage, Carson Wentz is going to throw it to him almost every time, I think. So, you can see it. We predicted it before the season that, you know, Nelson might do good out of the slot and Ertz was going to have, you know, you said he wasn't going to.
No, I didn't say Ertz was breaking out. Yeah, I wasn't.
I mean, a lot of people said they thought it was going to open the seams up, and it has. And the beautiful thing is Carson's making the reads, man. And if the read's there, he's going to take it. And you know he's looking for Alshon. He wants to get Alshon involved. That's potentially could be his number one receiver for, 5-6 years if things work out. And Carson's not an idiot. He knows Alshon's going to help him out.
Oh, yeah. They just got to build that chemistry on the back shoulder. That's what it comes down
to. Like Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers when they beat Dallas.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. We need that. Yeah. We need some of that in Philly, man. We need some Wentz to Jeffery action there.
Dude, that cracked me up because Skip Bayless tweeted out, was like, you know, Nolan Carroll should have been on him because he's bigger and more physical. And then you see today the news that Nolan Carroll got cut.
Yeah, and then he also said that he thinks Wentz is like scared in the pocket and doesn't have the composure Dak does. Okay, maybe he moves around a little goofy because he's big, but he gets away from the pressure all the time. He's made solid throws. He's at his best when he's extending the play. Skip Bayless is just they must be paying him to push his opinion.
Oh, it's all Fox Sports One. It's like they have all the fucking guys there that push buttons. Jason, Colin Cowherd.
I hate.
They have everyone there.
I hate Fox Sports One now. Colin Cowherd ruined that whole freaking station for me after what he said.
The Idiots Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yep. They can have a big middle finger.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. They want us
to react. Exactly. And Philly reacts the hardest, man. You know it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, if he wants to say that, you know, 137.7 passer rating on third down equals deer in headlights, whatever.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about LeGarrette Blount. I like the way they used him last week. I mean, this was the first time they really used him in the second half the way I wanted them to. So they limited him to 2 carries in the first half. He had 12 in the second, 12 for 68 yards. Completely punishing the Cardinals defense. So, I was joking like last week. I was like, Doug must be listening to the show because he's doing everything that I asked him to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm really happy. Like, I'm so happy. Doug's been great lately, and I've been one of his biggest critics. You have too, and maybe he's learning. It seems like he's learning. Fingers crossed, he doesn't overthink.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, just keep learning. Like I just said about Wentz, he's just got to. Peterson's the same way. Keep progressing. Learn from your mistakes. I don't make the same mistake twice. Is another big thing with me. More so the coach and a player, because the way the game goes, sometimes it's going to happen. But with Doug, I mean, the fourth down stuff, like I like being aggressive in certain situations. And I think he's finally wisening up. I think he's trusting Carson more to kind of go out there, put us in the right play, and he's putting our team in a position to win. Like he's the one scripting the game plan offensively and giving Carson the plays he can check down to. So, and I think the better Carson does, the more they're going to open the playbook up and expand the playbook, which is only going to make us better and more lethal. But I mean, the main thing I hope he does is just sticks to the run game, especially you have a lead in the second half. We have LeGarrette Blount. He's going to run people over. Don't get fancy.
Yeah, actually, when I watched the game again, when I charted it, they threw the ball 18 times and ran it 8 in the first half. So they were pass happy. So they threw to set up the run in the second half. That doesn't happen. But they were also struggling to generate rushing yards in the first half too. So Doug kind of went away from it a little bit. He did, but he did get back to it in the second half when it was working. So, but in this game again, this is a game where I won't be pissed off if the pass-run ratio is off because I really think this Carolina secondary is not good. I think you can beat them. As long as you can hold Carson Wentz upright, they should be able to pick that secondary apart. They're without Kurt Coleman. Not that he's the best thing in the world, but when you have like Mike Adams and Colin Jones as your starting safeties, they just brought in Jarius Byrd last week. I mean, they're not the safeties that the Eagles have. So you have bad corners and bad safeties, unlike the Eagles who have maybe average corners and really good safeties. So that's the difference between the two secondaries.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that's where I think it's going to be a little different this week. Like, I kind of want to stay away, unless it's a deep seam, stay away from the inside stuff because Kuechly and Thomas Davis and Shaq Thompson, they're athletic, they're fast, they're playmakers. We can win on the outside, which is weird because the Eagles, I see them more as like an inside-built team. But I think we can win on the outside, and I really think Alshon Jeffery is going to break out, and that's going to be the X factor here. I don't really see us. We might get one deep ball, but I think it's going to be, a little bit of a lower scoring game, but expecting to see us have long sustained drives, taking chunk plays out of it and just, 5, 6, 7 yards here and there, Alshon for 10, and keep the ball away from Cam because Cam's on fire right now. And I think our defense, I'll put us up against anybody, but whenever you have a player like that on the other sideline, keeping it out of their hands as long as possible is always the way to do it. I mean, that's been their formula to win this whole season. They're dominating time of possession.
Yeah. I am curious to see how many possessions this game is. For you people that, may not know, the average game has about like 10 to 12 possessions. And if you see like a bunch of long sustaining drives, I can see this being like a 7 to 8 possession game. So that means limited opportunities, limited possessions. So that just means you got to, really hang on to the ball and make sure you don't turn it over.
Yeah, and make sure you're getting 7 and not 3 too. I think that this game could come down to who can score in the red zone. It's going to be a dogfight. I know I said that before. I said that last week, and God, they blew them out. But I mean, it's a short week. You're on the road against a hot team, two of the best teams in the conference, and both defenses are physical, man. I mean, they've got people that can just. I see Pro Bowlers on both sides at all levels. I mean, not Carolina and the defensive backs, excuse me, but they have two. Pretty much like Kuechly's an all-pro every year. Thomas Davis is – I don't even know how he's still playing. He's playing at a high level. I mean, Star Latule and Kawan Short inside, I love that. So it's going to be a battle. But, and it's obviously every game's won up front at the line of scrimmage. But I'm going to say it, like this game especially, we keep Wentz upright. We get pressure on Cam. That's a wrap. If it's vice versa, or if we let Cam get outside on us, it's going to be a little scary because, I mean, Cam Newton, man, he's really streaky, but when he's good, he's one of the best in the league.
Yeah. I got the numbers and I got the nuggets right here. So his first 3 games of the year, I guess it's first 3, right?
They played 5, yeah.
So 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, first 3. And last 2, over 130 passer rating in both, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. One of those wins on the road against New England, actually both on the road, the other against Detroit. So, it's the Panthers who actually come in with the more impressive wins recently than the Eagles.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, who knows if that was just his shoulder injury in the beginning or if he's just finally, sometimes it takes some teams a little bit to get. I think
it was the shoulder and just kind of getting used to getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah, and they've asked him to run less recently. They've been keeping him in the pocket, and he's been beating teams with his arm, which is really impressive because, in my opinion, like, Cam Newton's not the most accurate passer. He's just the most athletic quarterback in the league, probably. I mean, and look at his size. He's huge. But another thing I see, I mean, game planning for him on a short week's going to be really tough. But, I mean, the way – I don't know if you saw his, interviews after the game, and he, people obviously brought up the whole reporter thing. I don't really think that's a distraction. It's just seeing Cam Newton, in my opinion, comes off really cocky sometimes. And if I'm a defense man, I'm watching that saying, let's shut this guy up. And, I mean, it's just – and that's Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz will be – showing them that. I know it. He wants them to, knock the freaking socks off him. Jim Schwartz is old school, man. But, I mean, it's just we got to be physical. We got to fly around. We can't let Cam get outside the pocket. And if he does, we got to maintain him. We can't let him have any big runs. And I think he's the biggest threat as a runner on the Panthers. So I'm not afraid of Jonathan Stewart. And McCaffrey's he's been good as a receiver, but he hasn't really done much on the ground. Granted, he hasn't had that many opportunities either. But, I mean, I don't think anybody's running on this defense. I've said it all year. We have an elite front seven. With or without Cox, I don't think they're going to run on us.
Yeah, I saw a stat that I have it in my preview of like the 18 runs that Jonathan Stewart had last week. I think he ran the ball 18 times. It was like 15 of them where he was hit initially at the line of scrimmage or behind it. So that offensive line is not generating any push.
No, and they have what? Matt Khalil has not been good at all. Yeah. Trey Turner and Ryan Khalil were like the two I was worried about, and Ryan Khalil is not playing now. Yeah. So, I mean, and if Fletcher Cox plays, like, I think that could be a big swing for us. Because if their center's out, Ryan Khalil was playing pretty good. If their center's out, they're going to have to deal with Jernigan and Cox inside. And if they have to pay attention to them, that opens things up outside. And it just creates nightmares all up front. So, and I mean, if that's the case, man, I think, I like our chances. But if Cox is out, they don't have to focus as much inside. It doesn't bode as well for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and just kind of getting back to our running game, I think it's going to be a struggle to try and generate rushing yards, especially on the outside. I just remember, I don't know if you remember, the last time we played them when Chip was the head coach, obviously he liked to stretch out defenses and run along the boundaries with the sweep in the outside zone, kind of like what Doug is doing right now. And it didn't work against Carolina. They are way too fast going sideline to sideline, especially Luke Kuechly. So I don't think they can run these outside sweeps in this game. I think they're going to have to pound Blunt up the middle.
I agree 100%. And, I mean, as good as our guards and centers are at pulling, you're not doing it to Carolina. No. Luke Kuechly is an absolute beast. Thomas Davis, again, I mean, I talked about him. You talked about him. They are going to patrol the sidelines. If we're going to do anything, it's going to be up the middle. And as an offensive line, like that, I would love that. Run between the tackles, maybe not see as much success right away. But, again, third quarter, fourth quarter, you're wearing them down. Look, Garrett Blunt will take advantage of that. So I agree with you. Even if it's not working right away, stick to it. Let Carson convert those third downs and keep the drive alive. And third, fourth quarter, if we're in like a 17-17 football game, look, Garrett Blunt will start churning, man. And you'll see another one of those long runs, maybe even running over Luke Kuechly. Who knows, man? That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. By the way, what did you think of Cam Newton's comments? I feel like I'm in the minority here. I didn't think what he said was a big deal.
I thought it was really ignorant. I just thought it was really ignorant. I don't know,
think he meant what? I don't think he meant it.
I don't think, like, in what world would he say that? Like, I think I talked about this a little last week. Like, 20, 30 years ago, there was not that many African-American quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's an African-American quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, there's not a lot of locker room reporters and female reporters in football. It's the same kind of concept, and that's where I think he's just very ignorant. I don't know if he was coming off like flirty. I don't know if he just wasn't thinking and meant it's funny. Like, it's funny. I'm not used to it. This is good. I just thought, as the quarterback and face of a franchise, like, you got to be smarter than that. And I don't think Cam's a bad guy. I think he's a little cocky here and there. But, he has the right to be. He can back it up. But, yeah, it's just, he just got to learn from it. He took the heat from it. I think he's moving past it, and I don't think it's going to be a major distraction for him.
Yeah, I listened to it, and I'm just like, he's just trying to be cute with her.
Did you see it?
Yeah. He's just trying to be cute with her.
The seeing it was, like, a lot, like, made it worse than just hearing it.
Yeah. When you see it in text, it looks a lot worse. But when you watch it, I didn't see it.
I thought watching it, like, the way he, like, has interviews, like, he just, like, comes up, he's like, he doesn't seem like he gives a shit about what he says. Me,
he definitely doesn't give a shit. No,
and it's just like he doesn't think about it, like, and he'll just, he like shrugs things off and almost gives like these like half answers, like, obviously, I don't even think he'd be out there if they didn't have to. But, I mean, he's the face of the franchise. Like, him and Kuechly, man. And, like, Cam's got to be smarter than that. I mean, he's an NFL MVP. He took his team to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And even if, like, you know, take away what he said, but you just don't want to be a distraction to your team either. Like, and he should be smarter. I mean, you won't hear that again out of him. He'll have good interviews for the rest of the season, and then he'll do something else, man. And Cam just, you know, there's always something with him, and that's why I think a lot of teams marked him as character concerns because of, you know, he's not a bad guy, but this kind of shit. And, you know, you can live with it. Carolina obviously can because he can play, but I'll take, you know, someone like Carson Wentz, who is always, you know, on point with his interviews and how his presentation, even if it's not, you know, I think he's a pretty genuine guy, but even if sometimes it is a little washed down, just saying what you expect, then a guy like Cam who's going to potentially say something like that. And who knows, man, that could affect ticket sales. Like, who knows?
It was naive, but
ignorant. I agree.
I do think it was blown out of proportion.
Well, everything gets blown out of proportion this day and age, man.
Yeah. And then now I was surprised. I thought the reporter was going to be like really hot, but I looked at her. She kind of wasn't. So
supposedly after that, she went up to him and said, like, I cover you every day. Do you know who I am? And he's like, no, I have no clue. I don't recognize you. And she introduced herself to him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. His apology, I thought his apology came off pretty genuine, though, even though, like, he had to do it. But he didn't do it, like, he did it, like, on his own accord, like, on Facebook Live or something like that. So, I mean, I think, you know, I agree with you. I don't think he meant it in the way it came off.
He didn't mean it. He's just a fucking goof. You know? He's a goof.
Yeah. Hopefully he can be a goober and throw us a couple picks.
Nice. I mean, nice. Like the Saints game.
Yeah.
You know? So this is a team that's lost to the Saints, but they've beaten the Patriots in Foxborough. But I'll tell you what about that. All right, so I do. You know about the scoring system I do? Mm-hmm. That game in Foxborough, I had New England winning the play-by-play 88-68.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised by that. Sometimes I didn't watch that game. But sometimes you can win on big plays, and sometimes, you know, if you gave plays like a significance rating, it would come out Carolina won. But New England in a play-to-play basis, I agree. I believe that. I think that New England just had, like, they don't
give up the long plays, which is why
they don't look like horrible, but then, like, they have these terrible plays. It's like, it's just head-scratching how this is not a typical New England team. This is definitely a down year for them, which is huge for the rest of the NFL because, you know, next year if they don't, you know, have a good year, they're going to be back. But, yeah, I mean, and Carolina wasn't all that. Like, they got blown out at home by New Orleans. Like, when I saw that, everybody's writing the Carolina Panthers off, Cam's done, like all this stuff. And then, yeah, they beat New England. I mean, I think – did Brady walk off with a lead and Cam drove him down? Was that what happened? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So they kicked the field goal at the end. I'm trying to see if.
Because I know it doesn't.
New England scored. It looks like scored a touchdown right before the Carolina
field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, New England's defense is trash, but the fact that they couldn't do that to New Orleans at home, it's pretty surprising. I mean, the win against Detroit's pretty impressive. For one, I'm not, like, huge. I don't think Detroit's, like, a great team, but I think they're a solid team. I think that they'll be in, you know, a wild card race, but I'm not sold that they're this great, you know, team, and that's a huge win for Carolina. But it does show that, you know, back-to-back weeks they went on the road and they weren't favored and they won. So, you know, they're rolling, man, and it's just so are we. So are we. But you said it. I mean, besides our Washington win, like, we look good against Kansas City, but we really haven't played anybody a bit like Carolina has. But, you know, in my opinion, too, I think the Chargers are better than 1-4.
What do you have to say to those people that have to say that, like, the Eagles are just feasting on an easy schedule?
No, I mean, well, you got to play the teams that are on your schedule, man. And, again, I'm not biased for the Chargers, but they are better than a 1-4 team. They just fucking shoot themselves in the foot. Like, it's frustrating to watch as a football fan because you see all the talent and you see them playing and they're in games and it's just like they just lose close games. And I mean, Arizona's not a walk-off over team. Like, we put up 34 points on a good defense. New York Giants is a division game. I don't care what anybody says. And Washington's a hell of a team. And the Chiefs, we played that game, went down to the wire.
Yeah.
So, you got to play who's on your schedule, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing I heard was like, well, you beat up on the Giants and Chargers. Congrats. Well, the worst team they fucking played is the Cardinals, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and we did what we should.
Yeah, and they did what they should. See, that's why I do this scoring too, to see like, all right. So sometimes you'll have like a 4-point win, but in the scoring, it's a lot worse. Like the Chargers game, I felt like the Eagles kind of controlled that game throughout, even though it was a 2-point scoreline at the end. Sometimes it's just not indicative of how a team is controlling the game. Is that making sense?
No, and it makes sense because you're scoring the plays, and that goes along with what I was going to say is like the eye test. Like, when you watch the game, like, how does it feel? How does it look? And the Eagles have been in control of every game they've played. The Chiefs game, where you can argue a couple plays in that, and it could have went the other way. But it felt like we were going to win the Giants game the whole time. We let them back into it. The Chargers, kind of the same thing. Like, we let them back into it. The Redskins game, I had no doubts about that. Unfortunately, it came down to us having to have a turnover at the end, and it could have went the other way. But I felt like we were in the driver's seat there, and obviously Arizona was our best game of the season, not just because they're a worse team, but we played really well. I mean, you could see it. So I think, like I said earlier, I don't think this team's peaking yet, which is a scary thing. But that's to say, I am looking at the schedule right now, and this game is a potential loss because I think, you and I disagree maybe, but I think they're going to beat Washington on Monday night. San Fran, if we lose to them, I'm going to – I don't even know what they're going to lose to them. And Denver's going to be a tough game too, but it's like, if we split Denver, Carolina, and beat Washington, like I think we will, and San Francisco, that's 7-2 at the bye, man. And holy shit. I did not expect that. Even 6-3, even if Washington does beat us, 6-3 at the bye is really impressive. So, this team's, they're going to lose. They're going to lose some games. It's just how they lose it. I want to see them be competitive. This game, it just, I don't know. I don't really have a feel on it, man. I really don't. I'm so back and forth. In my little picks on ESPN that I do with people, all day I've switched Eagles, Panthers, all day. And it's just, I hate picking against the Eagles, but I don't know. Usually I do these shows with you and I start to get a better feel, and it's me. I was all Eagles there for a little bit, and now I'm coming back to the Panthers, and I hate it.
Well, I'll say this. People are probably going to hate me for this, but I have a gut feeling if they win this game, they're going to lose to Washington. And the reason why is you're going to have for about, 10 days, you're going to hear about how great the Eagles are because they just beat Carolina on the road. They're for real. You're going to hear all this talk, and it's going to get in their fucking head, and they're going to lose on Monday night against Washington. I just got a fucking feeling. But maybe that's just my pessimism. I don't know.
It could be. We are Eagles fans. Pessimism's built into us, but it's just, I think they're already starting to hear how good they are, though, too. And the way you handle that is how good of leadership do you have on the team. And if you look at our captains, that's a great 5 guys or 5 guys. Yeah, that's great, man. Those 5 guys, Carson Wentz. There's people on the radios 50 years old calling in saying they'd follow him in the war. He's 23. He has it all. Malcolm Jenkins is so well-spoken. He stands up for his values and beliefs. He leads that. He's one of the heart and souls of the defense. And I don't know if you heard, he was mic'd up last game. He was talking to Carson after every time. It was awesome to see. He's a great leader. Brandon Graham, man, you hear his interviews. He's well-spoken. You imagine him before games talking. All these guys seem like they have great heads on their shoulders, and that's the important thing. When you start getting national recognition, you've never had it before, your leaders need to keep these guys, practicing well, disciplined, and not let it get to their heads because it's the NFL. And if you come out thinking your shit don't stink, you're going to lose. So especially if
I think they're going to lose, dude. I think they're going to win this game. It's going to be a statement win. And then that's when they get in their head.
Yeah, and that would suck because Monday night, man,
It's a big fucking game.
it's a big game, man. I mean, I would hate to see them get booed because if they're gonna lose games. That's what people in Philly forget. They freaking start thinking, "Oh, Super Bowl 15-1." Like, no, it's possibly Super Bowl, but like 11-5, 12-4, like even 10-6. Like, just get in the playoffs. That's all that matters, especially if you can win the division and get a home game. But yeah, I mean, dude, as we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but if they lose that game Monday night, man, people will be calling for Doug's job again.
Yeah.
But
I'll probably be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? He's done a lot better. That's another thing, though, is like, is he gonna let this stuff get into his own head? Like, if he starts hearing all this stuff, what if he starts thinking too far ahead and doesn't have the best game plan? That could be an issue.
Yeah. Either way, I think we're going 1-1 the next 2 games. If they lose this game, they're going to win on Monday night.
All right. Yeah. I mean, God, I'm torn, man, because I want to see him beat Washington's asses, but I want to see him win tomorrow too, obviously. So,
well, the more important game is the Washington game, but I think we're going to win tomorrow, and I think the Redskins are just going to sneak up on us because I think they're better than people think, and we're going to get in our head and we're going to lose at home. I just have that feeling, but that's just me.
I heard there's a rumor they might be going all black on Monday, though, and their record in all black's pretty good, except the Green Bay fucking game, man. I think they were in black that night. I don't remember.
I think they did. Yeah.
That was our first game we lost in black, I think, in like 10 years.
Well, whenever we have a blackout, don't we always play the Giants?
I don't know. It's usually supposedly it's like a primetime game in October is usually when they do it.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember – actually, no, never mind. I remember wearing against other teams too.
They're going all white tomorrow.
Okay. I like it.
The color rush stuff.
Cool. All white color rush. All right, so whatever that report was 6 months ago about what the Eagles were going to wear was wrong.
I mean, that's what I heard. I could be wrong. Like, I mean, it was just like Reese.
That doesn't sound like much of a color rush.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe their color. Maybe we saw their home color rush jerseys, even though we don't have another Thursday game. But we'll see. I would like to not see all white, but you know, the Panthers are going to be probably all that blue color or whatever. So, I mean, that's whatever. It's doesn't really matter.
All right, we're gonna make our pick now. I'll go first since yours torn. So I do think the Eagles match up well. I think we're going to see Carson and Cam go at it back and forth. I do think it'll be like an 8-possession game. So a 27-24 scoreline will actually be kind of high scoring for an 8-possession game. But I think that's kind of where this is going. Jake Elliott hits a 75-yard field goal for the win.
What do they call him? I think someone was calling him like Daddy Longstroke or something.
Daddy Longstroke.
It's hilarious, man. I mean, talk about someone who's on a roll too. Jake Elliott has been unbelievable. I mean, Caleb Sturgis might have to be afraid for his job at this point. Yeah, this game it's going to come down to the line plays and the quarterback play, which is a pretty generic statement, but I think it's really true. This game, our offensive line needs to handle them up front, and that's no easy task. I think, like I said, Doug's going to have to stick to the run up the middle. Obviously, he's going to do some outside, but up the middle, keep pounding them because this is a game that's going to go into the fourth quarter, and it's going to come down to which team's fresher and kind of rolling with a little more confidence. I think I'm going to say this, and people might call me out, but I think we have the better quarterback here, not just in terms of ceiling, in terms of quarterback, like right now. I trust Carson Wentz, man. I really do. I'm going to go Eagles 23, Panthers 17.
Ah, you went with the birds. There you go.
I did.
I
did, man. I had to do it.
And then my homerism will finally kick in like the Sunday before next Monday night when I finally pick the Eagles to win.
Well, hey, I mean, I'd love to see if Alshon Jeffery is a big game that could get his confidence rolling. Josh Norman's a little banged up, so we'll see. But I really think you called it with Alshon, and I think that's going to be – people will say that was the difference is the Alshon Jeffery coming out game.
Yeah, I think it's similar. It simply comes down to I think our receivers match up a lot better against their corners and their receivers match up against ours. Mm-hmm. But I think both match up well. We just match up better.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm serious. Them missing their starting center is huge up front.
Yeah.
That's the captain of the offensive line. So now he's just ruled out. I don't know if they were talking about him playing or not. So whoever the backup is has to be ready to go with the game plan, all the calls up front. And this is a scary front seven that we got. So they're going to wreak havoc, man. And I can't wait to see what our defensive game plan is because Schwartz is I bet he's biting him. He's just chomping at the bit, ready for this one.
Hell yeah. All right, we're going to end this one now. I got a flyer show with Caleb upcoming, so stay tuned for that. That's James Worthington. I'm Adrian Fedque, and this is Ginger Jesus.
Fly Eagles fly, baby. All day.
Yeah. There he is. Learn to love it. I love the way the Eagles run routes.